PBCKids present.
Good morning, PBC kids. This week's lesson is coming to you from the Sisk Family Kitchen. I would just like to say that we are missing all of you terribly, and we cannot wait to get back to church so that we can all play and run around and eat donuts together. The first Sunday morning, we are all back. In the meantime, let's get started with today's lesson. First, I'd like to ask you guys, have you seen any God sightings this week? For me, I actually read a story, it was pretty cool, about how because beaches have been kind of vacant and no one is going to them, sea turtles in India have been able to lay their eggs without being disturbed by humans. And I thought that was a pretty cool story. So to me, that tells me that God is still in control and his creation is still doing miraculous, wonderful things in the midst of this time. And for me, that was a very encouraging and uplifting story. I'd like you guys to take a quick minute to stop and talk to your family about what God sightings you guys have had this week. Also, while you guys are chatting, please grab your Bible and a pen and a paper because that is all you will need this week for our lesson. Thanks for sharing. Today's Bible story comes from the book of John, chapter 5, verses 1 through 9. You can read it later if you'd like. The story starts in Jerusalem near a place called the Pool of Bethesda. This pool had hundreds of sick people lying nearby, waiting for healing. Why don't you go ahead and lie down? Go ahead and grab your favorite blanket and spread it out and lay down, just like Emma, Mitchell, and Brody are. Everyone comfy? Good, because you're going to have to lie just like that while I tell you what happened. Well, the people lying by the pool weren't so comfy because they were all sick. The Bible said some were blind, some couldn't walk, some were paralyzed. Why were they lying by this particular pool? Well, they believed that every so often an angel of the Lord would come up and stir the water, and the first one to get into the pool after the water swirled would be healed. So they laid there and waited. And waited, and waited. Frustrating, huh? One day, Jesus was walking by the pool and saw a man lying there. Jesus knew this man had been sick for 38 years. He couldn't walk. Jesus asked the man, "Would you like to get well?" The man answered, "I can't, sir. I've no one to put me into the pool when the water bubbles up. Someone else always gets there ahead of me." The man said, "I can't." I seem to hear myself saying "I can't" a lot lately. With this coronavirus situation, there are a lot of things we can't do. I can't go to work. Mitchell and Brody couldn't have an egg hunt with their cousins this year that we've done every year since they were babies. There are a lot of things we just can't do right now. So take a quick minute with your family. Everyone take a turn yelling out something that you can't do right now. Great. Thanks for sharing. Let's get back to the Bible story and let's see what Jesus does with this man who says, "I can't." Here's this man lying near the pool with no one to help him get into the water. You try it. Lay on the ground without moving. Go rinse your hands off in the kitchen sink. You can't do it, right? Because you can't move. That's how frustrated this man was. Then along comes Jesus asking the man if he wants to be healed. And instead of saying, "Yes, I do," the man says, "I can't." Thankfully, Jesus didn't leave it at that. He said, "Stand up, pick up your mat, and walk." Instantly, the man was healed. Quick, jump up. The man rolled up his sleeping bag and began to walk. Did you see what happened? Jesus healed him, but he had to take action too. So now you can walk. Go ahead, march in place. In a second, walk around the room and talk about the things you can do during this difficult time. For me, I can still call my friends. My family and I can still take walks together. We can still wave and say hi to our neighbors and ask how everyone is doing. So why don't you go ahead and take a minute and talk with your family about the things you can do during this time. And I bet you've come up with some great ideas. Way to go. Sometimes it's easy to make excuses about what Jesus wants us to do. You might think you're too shy. You might think you're too young, but Jesus calls all of us to take action. Just like that man, he needed to stand up, he needed to roll up his mat, and he needed to walk. And that's what Jesus is calling us to do. And there are plenty of ways that we can take action right now. Go ahead and with your family, take a pen and paper and write down some ways that you can help each other and help the people around you. Maybe it's hanging up an encouraging sign in your window. Maybe it's making some phone calls to people that you know need to talk to someone. Maybe it's writing a quick little note to a neighbor and dropping it in their mailbox. Some way that you can encourage and support others during this time. Can't wait to hear about all of the ways that you and your family have come up with to can do the things that God asks us to do during this time. Hey PBC kids, thanks for joining me today as we learned about how Jesus and God has power over illness. God is bigger than this virus, and I believe in this story, he was showing us that he is bigger than everything. So please enjoy your week this week with your family, give lots of hugs and kisses just to your family in your house, and we look forward to seeing all of you soon. Love you all from the Sisks.